For the better part of my career, more than 20 years, I've been a corporate girl in supply chain management and logistics or classical marketing. But come 2020, COVID and the Great Reset, I got an opportunity to work in a non-profit organization which was helping young unemployed people to be able to break out of that trap of unemployment by connecting them with their first employment opportunity, allowing them to build experience, build that reference letter, and then move on to bigger opportunities. My name is Novantu Nkulwana, and in this season of my life, my ambition is to help the emerging social entrepreneur to be able to flatten that learning curve, scale up their projects, and deliver more impact quicker than ever before. Join us on the NPO Bootcamp as we show you how to level up your social enterprise. So Jaco, you painted it's a soul picture of the young boy growing up in South Africa, some with the dad but not really engaged, and some with no dad whatsoever. And you've mentioned how this came out of your own experience of some of the things that you would have wanted to do with your dad, but he wasn't there. So please take us into the work of the character company, what it is that you do and how it is that you try and help this little young boy.
I think I should start by saying, it is a painful picture. There's a lot of hurt in it. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of destruction that happens in it and can come from it. Mm-hmm. But one of the amazing things that I've seen is that when we fix it, and we can fix it,
right.
And it's actually so easy.
Yeah.
Then the results are phenomenal. I mean, if I look at the boys in our program, and I look at the conversations we're having, and I look at the changes and how we have to adjust the program from time to time to understand that, like, we filled a lot of these gaps, and so there are different gaps, but not the ones that we set out in the beginning with. So there's also hope. I mean, I think for us that's always. Otherwise, it would be a hopeless environment, and there's not even remotely enough mentors in our space. We need a lot more men to be walking into these fatherless spaces. Mm-hmm. But we can do it. I mean, it starts with us as men. I really believe that. I mean, so much of what goes on in our country starts with us as men. We should be more engaged in the conversations. We should be taking part in more of the interventions. We really need to step up to the plate. It's very important. So we focus very strongly on boys that are growing up with absent fathers, which is, like I said, 70% plus in single parent homes. In our experience, as many as 4 out of 5 boys not a positive male role model in their lives. Our intervention starts quite young, so we take boys into our program between the ages of 5 and 12. And that's because statistics have proven that a father's impact is the highest in that space. So mom 0 to 5, dad 5 to 12-ish, and then it becomes peers, my friends, everything. And then dad plays a role again, but I think it's because he has to pay for university, so I think it might have something to do with that too.
So you don't bite the head that feeds you.
No, I think there's a reason for it. So if by 12, you've lost a huge part of the opportunity to have a real meaningful impact in that life. And that's strange because a lot of organizations are working in the pre-adolescent space, which is 12 upwards. Short-term interventions, because we perceive that it's a space where I can have easier conversations. I can talk to a 14-year-old. I think I can talk to a 14-year-old. I can have a conversation. I can have some feedback. So I think it's easier.
So we shy away from the 5 to 12 because of the perceived difficulty. Yes. But a few sentences ago, you were saying it's easy to do this work.
It is. So actually spending time with a 5-year-old is a lot easier than trying to spend time with a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
It's different. Yeah. And so, but it also requires more for me. Right. So like 5-year-olds, I can camp with, I can try and keep up with him. It's exhausting. It's also a space where there's a lot of affirmation. You are the hero in most things that you do. I mean, you have to really mess up to make a 5-year-old be unimpressed. They're hard work. Yeah. They are the most selfish age group on the planet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's like all about me. It's like,
okay.
Like, don't touch my toys, don't touch my space. Like, don't touch me. Like this. Can you camp with 5? Yeah, no, of course.
Racial.
Yeah. No, I think 5-year-olds, like on the 5-year-olds, we have to have an afternoon nap at camp. Otherwise, they get cranky, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But because you have a long-term approach, which is also the other reason why people looking at, pre-adolescence is easier. I can go in, I can do a camp, I can rile people up, and I felt like I've had conversations. Great.
So for you, you are intentional about being with this young person for the long haul.
The long haul, yeah, definitely, for sure.
Very good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about where you find them. How do you connect with them?
So finding the boys is the easiest part of it all. I mean, like we have in Gauteng, we have a waiting list at any given stage of 50 to 100 boys.
You are kidding me.
The most amount of inquiries we get on our program is 12 and older. Right. So 12 to 14-year-olds, lots of inquiries from moms. Like, now the wheels have come off. It's like, I'm desperate for help. And we, unfortunately, if you apply in our system, unless you already have a relationship, so if it's a community organization or church group that are already working with that age group, so there's an existing relationship, then we'll come alongside and partner. But if a mom just phones and says, I've got a 14-year-old, we actually do not take them on the program. We just can't. We don't have the resources from a mentorship space because we've already got a waiting list of, like I said, between 50 and 100 boys at any given stage, between the 5 and 12-year age. So moms will listen to this. Even if this was purely talking to men, the percentage of moms that will react to this and engage much faster and get signed up are much, much higher. And so that's where boys will talk, moms will talk about the program the boys are on. So I want to say that's a very easy, we seldomly had a mentor in a space we didn't have boys and we had to kind of find moms for him. That comes very, very easy.
Okay.
And so on our program, we've now automated it all. So a mom goes on, she starts registering the boy. There's an admin process that has to take place. We take this very seriously. And then the boy gets registered on the program. We see if we can place him. Otherwise, he goes to the waiting list, and we're looking how we can find a mentor in that space. The mentorship side is very different as far as the intake is concerned. It's much, much more intense. 116 steps from picking up the phone to having a group. So it's very, very intense. It's over a short period of time. If you don't stick to a reasonable timeline on this, the system will throw you out and it'll just...
Okay, this is for the mentor, the one who's going to work with this little boy. Okay, got it. So we make it tougher for him.
Yeah.
Okay, 100%. I'm all for that. So we've got the little boy, the mom signs him up, fills in an application form, and then after that, what happens?
So then she gets, the moment we get to match the boy either into an existing group or it might be a group of boys from a... so we work with a lot of children's homes, for example, and might be children's home like the house mom there, and then we will introduce them to the mentor. The mentor will meet the mom. Often with the mentor, we've had mentors that would meet the mom with their wives. So the mentor and his wife and his family will say, "Listen, we're going to be, so we're going to be at this place on the park or something on Saturday afternoon. Come at 2:00. We'll spend half an hour with the moms. Then I'm leaving. I'm taking the boys. We're going to play a ball. You can talk to my wife further or something like that." And so we've had mentors doing that. So we bring the interaction so the moms know, that they know the mentor. But we've also had, I remember mentoring a group of boys in here in North Riding. I met with a mom the morning, told her about the program. And so I said, okay, so when you're ready, you can let me know. She said, no, I'm ready. So I'm like, okay, so I've got a group this afternoon so they can next week. She said, no, I'll phone the school. You can pick them up this afternoon. Okay. And I picked them up this afternoon. And those two boys are still in our program.
Nice.
We've mentored them for many, many years. They've just amazing. Their mom actually passed away a couple of years back. And so, the ability we had as a program to support that whole process was really phenomenal. And so, so
Stop, Jaco. So I know you've flown in from Cape Town for this discussion, but now you're talking about working with a family in North Riding. So the character company, are we covering all provinces? Okay. Yeah. So we're in all provinces right now?
We are, the majority of the program is in Gauteng because that's where we started. Okay. I moved down to the Western Cape middle last year, set up our program there. And so we've got a strong focus there, but we've also got mentors in East London. So Eastern Cape, we've started, KZN, we've started Mpumalanga and Limpopo.
So we want to be covering the
idea is that we want to cover every province. That's the heart.
Okay.
But it's difficult because we don't have the mentors. And we are often approached by community organizations from communities saying, we need help, please come and help. But it's always women that are picking up the phone and phoning. And we're like, we would love to help you. Just, get 3 guys in a room and we'll come and have a conversation. And then, it takes a long time and nothing happens.
I know it might be putting you on the spot, but right now, how many volunteers, how many mentors have you got across the country?
Got about 85 mentors on the program. And
what is the ideal ratio to for mentors to mentor little boys?
5 to 1.
5 to 1.
So, so the mentorship group is a minimum 2 boys, maximum 5.
Okay.
And the reasoning behind that is that, for a boy in that group, I have one deep desire, is I want to have, I want to belong to something, but I'm also very scared. Life has already had it at me, and I don't want you to really get to my heart. And so that's why with 5-year-olds it's a lot easier, because you start building that relationship and you're just playing. But the older they get, the more protective they become. So I'm going to do one of 2 things. I'm going to throw a lot of noise out there that you have to deal with. And while you're dealing with that, you're not going to get to the closer parts of who I am. Or I'm going to be the quieter kid, and you are going to deal with that kid's noise, and I can just take a step back. And so you're not going to get to me either.
So these are all coping mechanisms that...
Oh, totally, yeah. It's like, how do I protect myself? And then I've had boys in the program that started today, and 10 minutes in, I had family history like you cannot believe. They would just talk and talk and talk. And it's because the whole thing about the mentorship group is it provides a safe environment to just talk. And I see that with our mentorship, with our Men Around the Fire program. Men just want to talk. They just want to share that I'm struggling, that I've got something in here that's really hurting. I just want to get it out there. And so with boys, it becomes easier if you understand that. And so the group is intentionally kept small so that the mentor can have
a connection with everybody.
Because you can't build a relationship with 10 people on that level. And so it's fine if you're going to have 10, it's 2 groups, and you have to see them separately, because we also measure it. You have to do monitoring and evaluation on that group. And so you have to say how the boys are performing and what are we seeing happening there.
So there's a structure to this mentorship. It's not like every one of the 85 guys can decide what to do, how to do, when to do. How does that structure work?
A lot of that started also because, I had to build something that's going to work for me. So, I remember the first group I had was me, 3 boys around a table at school, and I thought, this can't be homework. So, I'm not academic enough, and we are not going to do homework. So, we have to find topics to talk about, and that's how curriculum actually grew out of that.
So what kind of topics are we talking about?
So we took our 5 values, and then we actually did some research. We asked moms, we asked boys, we asked some of our stakeholders and said, so give us 5, minimum 5, maximum 10 qualities that you would want to see in a good man, and then give us 10 qualities that you would consider to be a bad man. And so we took all of that, and we took the highest ratios of what came out of that, and we said, so we'll take the 5 values that we have, which is the foundation of the program, and we'll add another 7 topics to that. And originally it was just 10 because, in Gauteng, most boys left December after a year in camp and came back only mid-January. But then at some point it came to like all your boys are in, East London in my group. So how do I, they're on holiday here, what do I do with them over December, January? And so we added 2 additional modules to that. But that would be, other than the values, it'll be like February I wrote, because it's about identity. Who am I? So the topic is who am I? And it talks about I'm a boy, I'm a child of God, I'm a member of a family, I'm a citizen of this country, And so then you have an overarching topic for the month, and you have discussion points every week. So the mentor can talk about different things. And because we're boys, it really, we're talking about small amount of prep work. I read through it. I ask the Holy Spirit to guide me, and I'm doing the conversation, but it's nothing. It's not recreating school. And so a lot of the stuff also doesn't happen at school. It is really, how do I draw you into the conversation? So we're going to have a little bit of a check-in. We call it acorns and thorns. A thorn is what was not nice about your day. And we do that at camp as well. So, and we're celebrating that is that we want to get boys to talk about their emotions. So this was bad. You're only allowed to have 1 thorn, not more than that. So you can pick one thing in the day. You're not going to go give me 20.
So it's not going to be a pity party.
No. And so we're also not going there. It's you're not going to go and fall apart around this. We want to hear the story. We can talk about it. And we can also say to you, okay, but now, that really, going on a long hike today, so it might not have been the greatest thing, but look at all the benefits. Which, strangely enough, boys moan on hikes all the time, and it's always an acorn in the evening. It's it was great. So, and if you don't have a thorn, it's fine. You can say, listen, my day was great. There was nothing, there was nothing bad about it. And then your acorn is, because it's in our logo, it's what was good about your day? And you must have something good. So you can't skip that. And the reason for that is we want to celebrate the great things. We also want to make sure that you understand that it doesn't matter how bad this day has been. There's always something good about it. So it became something that we celebrate in that. So we do a bit of a check-in. And then we start an activity. And so that could be whatever. We could do painting or, I don't know, rebuilding a car engine if you can do that with boys, or rock climbing or cycling in the park, playing ball, whatever. It's an active space for boys to engage in. And in that, we have the conversation about, we bring in the topic. So like, who am I? And we talk about that. We also use the values to do the discipline. Like when you're at the bike park and you throw the bike down because you're frustrated, then it's about, so where is the discipline line? So which one of your values did you just like trample over right now? And so when you're done with it, then daganje, which is also what we use, which is there you go in Afrikaans. And that was just like, there's consequences for your actions. So you're going to run and you're going to touch that pole and you're going to come back.
Oh, so this is like doing laps. This is punishment now. Oh my goodness.
And that actually started at one of our year-end camps. I must tell you, this kid, he's been on our program for so long. And it was his first camp. And his mom bought him a school outfit before camp. It was December camp. And this kid could not keep quiet in line, because our camps are very structured around very specific things. It's like you line up, your number, because we need to know how many we started with and that you're all still there all the time. You also need to make new friends, so you can't stand next to the same boy. When we have meals, you're not allowed to sit next to the same kid. You have to know the names. If you can tell the names of the boys next to you, there's rewards in that. But if you're going to talk in the line, then daganje. So we were on a farm up in the hill, so daganje was a little down the road and back up. And this kid dropped 2 pant sizes in December from daganje. So his mom was furious for the right reason. There's a bit up.
Look what you've done, Jaco.
But he was very healthy. He still talks a lot in also, but it became a fun thing. It also, like, it's now completely off the topic, but it also became something that we noticed that boys use because it brought attention to them. So we would have conversations, and then one would be naughty, so daganje, and then other boys would say like, oh, can I also daganje? And so then they all went around. Or they would be like, one of the things is you don't stand with your hands in your pockets. And because it's slouching and it's not neat to say. And then you would go down the line, you would talk, and then you can see out of the corner of your eye a boy that puts his hands in his pockets. So that when you get to him, you're going to go, hands in your pockets. And it's always a fun thing. It's a daganje, because it's like I'm being noticed. So also realize that, we have to look out for that.
Sometimes they're playing the system.
Yes, they do, yeah.
So here's the thing. We've covered the mentorship, which is kind of a structured conversation. Yes. 1 mentor with 5 young people maximum, minimum 2. Then you've now gone into the camps. So if my mom signs me up as a young boy, I get access to mentorship. How do I get onto the camps?
So automatically.
Okay.
So the program has got 3 aspects to it. The weekly mentorship. So once a week, I'm going to have a mentor in my life. So someone's going to pick me up from home or school. Yeah. We're going to do an activity. We're going to have conversations. And I have to be part of that. Like, I can't just skip 3 of them in a row because I don't feel like it. It's not part of how it works. Which is, again, strange. When we start with 5-year-olds, we never have that issue. And like we talk to our mentors often and saying, you have to understand that for a lot of the boys that you're picking up, even not all of them, this is the highlight of their week. There's a lot of stuff going on. And as they go older, there's other stuff like sport and stuff that becomes an issue. But like, for them, this is
like, crying for the day.
Uncle so-and-so is going to be there and we're going to do something. And
is that what they call them, uncles?
Yeah, so everyone's called an uncle. For the younger mentors, it's a bit harder to be called uncles, but it's part of a title, I want to say, but it's also part of a respect. So it's like, this is not just, it's not like, hey, you. And we do a lot with our boys. Like when a mentor walks into a space, you stand up and you greet. Respect is one of our core values, and so we talk a lot about that. We teach the boys a lot about that. So you have an afternoon session, and you have camps. You have to do at least 2 camps a year, and we camp a lot. Like in Gauteng at the moment, I want to say this year we're down to 1 camp a month. For different age groups, we made the camps a little bigger because our staff complement is small, and camps take a lot out of us. But you camp as well. And also you can't say like I don't like camping. Like it's a space you have to take part in.
Okay, stop. So weekly I'll be having mentorship, and then you've got a roster of camps running throughout the year. And if I'm on that program, how many am I expected or required to attend?
Minimum 2 camps.
Minimum 2.
And you can do more. Like for some of the boys, it becomes how many times can I because they love it. Also, as they get older, they go through what we call our Acorns to Oaks rite of passage program, and then they can serve at the camp. So now I can come and serve at a junior camp, which is a little bit different. So I don't have to go to bed at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I can stay a bit later. I can sit around the fire with the mentors. We can talk.
Nice.
When everyone's in bed, we have our chocolate, so you can share that. So it's a bit different. but it's you don't get to choose. Like,
Okay.
I'll only do this, I don't like that.
Okay.
It's not
So I must camp at least twice, but I can hop onto the camp anytime I want.
Yeah.
You're not going to stop me and say, no, you need to create room for other little kids.
If you're out of your age group camping, then you have to serve at camp. So we also camp in specific age groups a lot of the time.
Okay. And is there a cost attached to any of these programs?
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to what we call a value exchange contribution. We're asking moms to pay 300 Rand a month for the program. Probably at this stage, 80% of the moms are not. And a lot of that's got to do with just moms just can't afford. And so we're trying to find different ways to sponsor that. But like in that right now, if you pay that every month, also your camp cost is covered for the year.
Okay, so in that 300 Rand a month, I can come for the weekly mentorship and I can hop onto as many camps as I want. Okay, so now something very interesting. You're saying to me that 80% of the moms, so is it accurate to say that most of these boys have been signed up by their mom?
Yes.
They have not been brought by a dad?
Yeah,
okay.
no, these are not.
And now maybe mom is struggling financially, so she can't afford to pay. Is this a conversation that you have up front?
Yeah.
Because there's forms. So you take them on knowing that it's going to be a struggle. Sometimes mom might be able to make it, but she won't.
Yeah.
But sometimes she won't.
And we ask the moms about that because, the value exchange contribution is a difficult thing because we never want to have a boy not being on the program. But we also don't want to be in a space where we feel like we're just being used. And so, like the basic principle in life is that if you don't pay for anything, there's no value to it. So then we'll sign up, for a activity, but we won't pitch. And so, like we've done catering, we've made arrangements. So we're saying you have to do something. So if you can't do 300 Rand a month, then make it 100, and then we'll find the balance. We'll look for a
Okay.
Because also, if you're going to camp, if you don't pay that, your camp will cost you for a weekend camp 350 Rand for the weekend camp. A holiday camp, which is a 4-day camp, will be 500 Rand. Now, if you go out and you go and look at the cheapest that you can probably do a camp at, and that we could find when we try and outsource it, was probably between 1,000, 1,200 Rand per child per day. You're going to send your boy to a 5-day camp, it'll be 7,000 Rand easily. And so, so we really subsidize a massive amount of that. So we fundraise for all of that to make sure we create the experience, still create the experience. And we're asking moms to just at least then help to share about the story. Introduce us to your colleagues or, people that we'll give them material and try and help to raise, 200 Rand a month. I mean, like essentially 300 Rand a month, it's been the same for years. It really is nothing, but sometimes moms struggle.
You've given us a bit of a sneak preview in terms of what happens at Camp Stachanye. So I'd like to go in a little bit more into what that camp structure looks like. But before we get there, you've got mentors that are spending at least once a week. How much time?
Probably works out about 2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours with a little boy. And then they still go on the camps with the little guys. How do you vet your mentors?
So that's a big process for us. I think I mentioned earlier, we talk about 116 steps.
Yeah.
So when I phone and I say, listen, I would like to sign up to be a mentor, I go into a process where I go into a category called a seed. So again, because of the acorn, we work on some tree themes here. I go in as a seed. I have to fill in some documentation, which includes police clearance, sexual offences affidavits, definitely. And then I go and visit a group. So at that stage, like even to get to the group, there's an indemnity and there's some checks in place. I go and visit a group with another mentor that's already happening. I have a look at it. When I leave there, I'm asked to make a commitment. Now I'm asked, listen, either sign up for this or don't. But you understand at this point, and there's a whole explanation. You know by then exactly the commitment, the process, everything there. But at the same time, the mentor that you visited also immediately fills in a visit form. So the guy goes, listen, this mentor visited. He was quite engaging in the program. He wasn't on his phone the whole time. Didn't get the idea he's trying to steal someone's kidney here. So I think we're okay. And then based on that, we will then make the invitation. If he goes yes, this guy was on his phone the whole time and he really wasn't engaged, I really don't get a good feeling. We'll just say, sorry, I don't think this is for you. We get involved in other ways, but not through this. And we have the right to say yes or no at that point already. Right. Then we change your status to oak, and now it is...
Then I was an acorn.
A seed.
I was a seed, okay.
Now you're an oak, and now it's 4 other group visits.
And it could be like an oak.
Part of how it works there. And now I have to visit another 4 groups, and I have a lot of documentation. And so now it's the MOU I fill in, so I have to understand what it is. it's the child protection policy that I signed.
No.
3 references. So I need a reference from my employer. If I'm self-employed, from someone that I'm having business with. A reference from either a pastor at church or someone that I'm accountable to. And then a female member of my family, but not my mom.
Why can it not be my mother?
Because moms love us regardless of what we do. So if
I can be a serial murderer.
it's like, man, we killed 16 people. It's like, is that the sweet boy? Not your, it must have been their fault. So no, not your mom, your sister preferably. Your sister will rat you out easily. So that's 3 references, and then a whole lot of other documentation. And you go through that process. You have to fill in stuff, and there's a timeline to this. Like if you haven't, like we're saying, from first call to mentorship is a 2-month process.
Right.
So you can't wait 3 weeks to do your first visit.
Okay.
Like 2 weeks maximum. And if by then we can't get a hold of you, you're not returning calls. We do have a 3-strike policy. We'll try 3 times. Then we'll just send you a letter. Listen, clearly you're not prepared right now. You can't commit. And that's really bad. And the biggest fallout happens in our seats and our oaks, and that's intentional.
Okay.
Because we don't want mentors to fall out.
Absolutely.
Like once you start making a commitment to be a mentor, if life happens and you walk out there, we have a group of boys that are not being mentored. So we want to just stop it as soon as we can.
Yeah.
And so we want to try and prevent that. So a high percentage of guys fall out with seed and with oak.
But by then they haven't been allocated their own group of people. They've just been visiting here and there and being exposed to other mentors. Great.
It's probably going to be 6 weeks in before we actually start looking at putting boys together for your group, because by then you would have been, deep into the program. A lot of your stuff is in place.
You spoke about, as one of the precursors, the child protection policy.
Yeah.
What does that cover?
So just basic child protection and safeguarding. So, we work on a very strong policy around child protection. What does it look like? What does my space look like? We call it 2 deep 360. Like if we even at a camp, we want to go to the bathroom, 2 mentors, 2 boys. 360, I'm never allowed in a space alone with a kid. There's always, 360 vision around me. So it's all about how do I protect myself? Because you have to understand, I mean, I've stood in mentorship spaces where a new boy came into the program, and I remember having a conversation with him. One of the older boys came and stood right between us, looked at me and said, "This is my uncle, it's not your uncle." And so, he was like, "What are you doing here?" And so there's...
So he was a bit territorial there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we want to protect everyone in the space. We want to make sure that the mentors are safe, but the boys are safe. It's very important for us. So it's an extensive process. You're not allowed to... we create an afternoon WhatsApp group for the mentor. So the mentors on there, the moms are on there, our mentor coordinators on there, the regional characters on there, which of course means that at that point you're in a lot of groups, but it means all the communication that happens on there. So I'm not allowed to communicate with the mom offline, so to speak, or privately about anything. Like it's all in the group. So if the mom contacts me privately, I'll take the conversation, I report it, and I drop it onto the group, and we're having the conversation from there. Because you're dealing with a single mom, and so you are the hero at that point, and it becomes dangerous. So moms are not allowed to phone mentors. Like you don't want a phone call 9 o'clock at night from, Josh's mom.
Not just short mom.
Yes. So that happens through the process. A mom phones the office, she speaks to someone in the office, we take it from there. So there's always a process that there's someone that takes the call, deals with it, but it's the mentor's out of it.
So what I'm hearing is that this can be quite tricky, this kind of area.
Yeah.
And you've put in all the precautions to make sure that the kid is safe, the mom is okay,
Yeah.
and the organization's integrity is protected.
Oh, always, yeah. Okay. So because it's important, because this is important to God's heart.
Absolutely.
This is the most precious that we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
So, and it's the boy, it's the mom, it's the mentor, the organization, it's the integrity of everyone, it's the transparency. And it's important. It's important for nonprofits to look at that from a start point and then constantly evaluate it and going like, okay, well, we're picking up something here. How do we fix this? How do we make sure that we see something happening? That's why this should be on your risk register, and we'll talk about that at some point. So there's important stuff in this process.
Jaco, I don't know how many other nonprofits have thought about this. Did you burn your fingers first, or were you supremely wise and you knew that we had to cover these bases before we get going?
I had a conversation 20 odd years ago when I started in the nonprofit space, where someone was talking me through something around a code of conduct that we had for volunteers at that point. And I was very fortunate where someone said, listen, you have to have these and these things in place. And we just grew it from there. So the indemnity, along the line, we've had lawyers looking at it. We've had all kinds of stuff.
So this is proper.
Yes.
Proper.
And it's because it's hard. I remember when I was in community development, our policy was, and as the head of organization, it was important for me to show the example. I remember driving kids to school, dropping kids, driving back.
This is now at Refeed.
Yeah, driving back to the community project and driving past some of our female community volunteers. And I wasn't allowed, I couldn't stop and pick them up.
Because you were alone in the vehicle.
Because I was alone in the vehicle.
But there were many of them, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The multi-cycling.
Yeah. So it's important for us. And it sets a stage for, I remember me and my daughter being in the car and we would drive and there would be, a lady that was working in the complex that I lived in and we would want to give them a lift and I could do it because my daughter was in the car. But there were days when we lived and there was a big uphill and I had to drive past and I just kept on thinking, oh man, this is hard, but there are
very good reasons.
Yeah, which is also why our program just focus on boys. We constantly get asked, why don't we do this for the girls? And it's very easy because everything we have can just be copied into that.
Yes.
But this space is so, it's such a physical space. Boys have got that, there's a lot of wrestling going on and there's a lot of tickling and, and we do a lot of physical activity, cycling and rock climbing and stuff like that. And you just can't, you have to be very, very focused on what you're doing. You have to be very aware of the pitfalls around it. And you have to constantly engage with other organizations. So what we do constantly is we check with other organizations in our partnership space on have we done all that we can in this. So, where do we find another checklist to see have we done all the documentation? Because it changes. And so it's important to update those things because it's important for us.
Wonderful. Yeah. You mentioned earlier a code of conduct or something with volunteers. Yes. Are all the mentors volunteers?
Yes. At this stage, we provide mentors since middle of last year with a expense reimbursement just to help mentors where mentors really struggle and they can't, petrol has become expensive, so that was a big step for us because it also added a huge portion to our budget. But we felt that we would like to offer that. But currently all our mentors are volunteers. We have looked at a space where we would employ a mentor into a community, which would make a huge impact with regards to having one guy that can take probably four groups and do work in schools. Is something that we want to try. And if we have the opportunity to do that, we'll definitely keep on exploring it. But there's a budget component to that.
So let's wrap up this piece, Jaco. And the last question I want to ask you here is, what is the ideal profile of your volunteer? You spoke earlier about that they need to get a reference letter from a family member who's not a mom. If they're self-employed, somebody they do work with, or if they are employed, somebody in that space. So this is quite, it can be quite diverse. So students, can they be part of the mix? When you look for a volunteer, who ticks the right boxes?
So we're looking for fat guys. Faithful, available and teachable.
Are you body shaming? You're not body shaming nobody.
Well, for some of us, we fit into the profile. But we're looking for guys that are faithful, available and teachable.
Okay.
22 to 25 years and older. And because by then you're a junior mentor, right. Depending on your level of maturity, which by then we'll understand, you'll probably be able to be qualified as a senior mentor from 25 upwards. And it is guys that are prepared to be faithful to this, that love Jesus and going to be God-fearing men that are available, that are prepared to make the time available, make the commitment. And then teachable. I mean, like for us, there's a huge component of accountability in this. We are constantly in a space where we're accountable to one another. Not a single mentor in an organization is not mentored himself.
By someone in
an organization. So it's constantly from a variety of different people. And I think that's sometimes one of the hardest things. You hear this on the radio, like, oh, this sounds exciting. It sounds so romantic. Let me get involved in this. And then, you walk out of a very protective space into a place where guys are, hey brother, I love you. And you're suddenly hearing another guy, being in your space and want to know about your heart. He doesn't care what you do, what you drive, how you got here. He cares about your heart. And there's something there's a big pull there, but it's also like very scary. And so I think guys are very like, wow, this is a lot more than I thought it would be.
So this is the faithful. And then you've got
available.
Yeah.
So you must make the commitment. You can't say this, I'm going to do this, but I'll do it once a month, when I feel like it. Like this is a weekly thing. Like life happens and sometimes you can't do it. And if you skip a week, then either get another mentor to help out or
But the show must go on.
Yeah. So we've had mentors that travel and they say, listen, moms, we can't see the boys. I can't see the boys on a Wednesday because it's also a regular day in the week. But I'm going to make a plan on Saturday morning. We're going to see them. Or like, I'm just out this week. So I'll do a Zoom check-in or I'll do a phone call check-in. Can I do that? Again, everything handled on the group.
So when I sign up to be a mentor, am I giving you a commitment for a year, 2 years? How does it
We
work?
ask for a minimum of a year. So yeah, we've been fortunate. We've had mentors that's been on the program for 7, 8 years.
So every year they will renew.
Yeah.
But
We
it's a
ask every
written
year.
contract.
Yeah. We're saying, listen, guys, it's typically the beginning of the year. We're saying, that's the year lies ahead. Are you prepared to make the commitment? If not, let's have the conversation. Don't just walk out. Don't just not pick up the phone. Let's start prepping this so that we can get another mentor into the boys. So we want to make the transition happen, and it often happens well, and then some cases it's not, and then we try and have to find a new mentor for those boys. That's why we want to make sure that the disappearing rate happens before we get to the mentorship space. But and then the teachable part is the hardest, I think. I thought, originally I thought the others would be harder, but the teachable part is harder because, again, it comes back to how isolated men are, how much shame there's already in our space, how I don't like to admit that I'm struggling with certain things. And now I'm in a space where, like, if a regional character or another mentor comes and visit my group afterwards, he's going to say, okay, so, like, I see you're not talking about the discipline stuff. You're not asking me how to deal with stuff, and I can see you struggling. So, let me give you some advice. Or, like, I would have probably in that situation handled that a little bit differently. Have you thought about having this conversation? And so I have to be open to that. I have to be open to another guy going, have you thought about this? Because I need to be in a space where I'm aware that I've got blind spots, and we don't like that either. Like, especially if we come back to the conversation earlier about my affirmations, like, my affirmation lies in this. I want to be the best mentor. I want the boys to love me and, make a big scene when they see me. And so I want to keep that up. And so if I now have to consider that I'm maybe not doing something right, like, I don't want to think of that. So let me not. And so the teachable part's difficult, but it's so rewarding because that's how we grow. That's the only way that we grow, because someone helps me with my blind spots, and I'm accountable. Because in those conversations and in the vulnerability, I can also say this, like, I'm struggling with this. Like, I'm having this question. I don't know how to handle this question. Or I'm having this issue. There's a discipline issue in the group, and I don't know how to deal with it. And I now want to be vulnerable about it. So now people know about it. So now someone can come in, and so, there's a case where, I can have the mentor coordinator come in and sit with me, and the regional character can come in, and we can all come to the group and have a look at how this happens, and then have a conversation with the boy and start and help me through the process so I can understand, because I've never done this before, but it means I have to be teachable. And the thing about this is that all three of those aspects, if I look at it, flows through to every part of my life. Like, if I'm vulnerable, accountable, and I can make commitments, or if I'm faithful, available, and teachable in my family environment, that's a huge bonus. In my work environment, that's enormous. I mean, like, that makes me very, very different to work with, to be around with, to do life with, and it grows me. It's like, in that space, I get to grow.
I like that so much. Jaco, you started off from the get-go talking about your faith and your journey with God, and some of the principles of Christianity, they're coming in some of the work that you do as the character company. So what happens when a kid is coming from a faith that is not Christian faith, or they're not actively involved in any kind of spiritualism or anything? Can they still be part of
yes,
that?
yeah. So we that category applies to our mentors only. So you have to be a Christian man to become a mentor at the character company, because there's a faith-based organization. It comes from where we come. Moms understand it. Moms know that we are a faith-based organization.
Okay, so you take the mom through that from the get-go.
Yeah, the mom understand that when we're at camp, we're going to have some quiet time. We're going to do some Bible studies. We're going to pray for our meals. Like, your son's got to hear the word God and Jesus and Abba, frequently. So you have to be okay with that. Right. And we've never had an issue with that.
Okay.
And so, I mean, the boys come from different belief systems. They come from, they've seen the inside of a church, perhaps, And so for us, it's about the opportunity to model or to mentor in a way that we model Jesus' hands and feet. Okay. It's not about, like, you have to belong to you have to believe the same that I believe to be part of this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be part of this, you have to respect that this is what I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's quickly go through the camps. So, day one, we arrive. What happens?
So typically, boys get together and we drive from all kinds of places to get there, and we unpack. You get your mattress. You unpack your bag.
Camping.
So in Gauteng, we've got a beautiful farm called Basora. I'm out in the Hartbeeshoek.
Okay.
A lovely family there we've been camping there for seven plus years. We've in the hall there, we know the space well. We've walked the farm. And for us, camping is really, you need a place to sleep, you need a place to walk, you need a place to swim. And so that's basically it,
So you're not glamping?
No. There's like,
not coming to a camp.
Well, considering when we started, we were in tents next to the river. Our kitchen was a gazebo to when we now have a hall we sleep in. So we've upgraded. No, definitely. But it's a space so it's a big hall. Everyone sleeps there. Mentors sleep in the hall as well. So the boys are not alone. With the older boys, if you want...
So what? It's like a sleeping bag kind of arrangement?
Yeah, so there's lots of mattresses out.
Oh, you guys are roughing it, eh?
Yeah, no, and also that space, so you unpack properly, and your space stays neat the whole time. That mattress, your space, it stays neat. Very important. You're gonna clean that up tomorrow morning. No clothes lying around. Then we all get together and then we talk about camp rules. So
and there's no privacy. There's no curtains. There's nothing.
No. Like at a weekend camp, typically, especially if they're swimming, there's probably not going to be showering either. So like you have to brush your teeth,
all right,
because we're all in each other's spaces, but you don't have to bath.
Oh,
like no shower.
This is so rough. Oh my goodness, I don't
always have it. Holiday camp, there's a lot of showering. But
is it?
Yeah, no. It's so we've got outside showers there in the camp. So we do that, but we do a lot of swimming and river swimming and stuff like that. So then we do camp rules. We talk about why is rules important. Why we're here. We talk about the values every opportunity. We get the boys to come up with a camp rule. So we kind of, we've got a bit of an agenda already. So
you
understand
kind of guide it.
Yes. So we ask questions to get them to come up with the rules for camp. Now they've made the rules. They understand that rules are there because it's important. So all of us can have fun. So no one's allowed to have fun at someone else's expense. There's also... If the camp's big enough, there's groups. You will not be in a group with someone that you are big buddies with necessarily, so you get mixed up. If your mentor camps with you, he will not be the mentor for your group at camp either. So you'll see him there, but he would not be your mentor. So there's a lot of mix-up in that. If there's a new boy in camp, we will typically speak to one of the older boys and say, listen, this kid's new. It's your responsibility to make sure he's okay. And I mean, that just comes, I think, from my own environment of like that sense of wanting to belong but being so scared. And then stepping into a space and everyone knows one another and you don't.
And you're the outsider.
It's the worst feeling in the world. And so that's not going to happen. There's no bullying. So we talk about that. Then we line up. So you number. And so the number is, you start with 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we do it like that. And at the end it's like, hoorah. And, and we know there's 15 boys at camp or 20 boys at camp. So we get to 20. We don't get to 19 or 23. So that's important. And that's also space for, and you don't keep your number because you're not standing in the same place the whole time. Oh. So we just want to make sure that everyone's there.
Okay. So I'm not prisoner number 15 for the
duration of the camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Depends on where I am in the line.
Because also I need to pay attention because it's 1, 2, 7. If you're not listening, if you guys are not paying attention, this is time for attention. It's also like now, like eyes on me, you're not talking. So now you're listening, the mentor's talking. It's we introduce the mentors. And then we go and do a icebreaker, warm-up while supper's prepped. And then it's supper time, typically a night hike, go out and walk at night. If we have the...
Sorry, but what age are the kids?
5.
So you're taking a little 5-year-old to hike out at night?
Oh, they love it. Let's say hiking with a 5-year-old is a lot easier than hiking with a 14-year-old. Let me tell you. 14-year-old complain a lot about hiking. 5-year-olds are...
At night?
Yeah. I know, we do scorpion hunts. Yeah, so I have to explain that. Always scorpion hunts is if you shine a UV light, you get a light with a UV. It's called a scorpion flashlight. So
right.
Shine a scorpion flashlight on a basic brown scorpion. It lights up like a neon. It is the most phenomenal thing to see. So we take the boys out. We go and check under rocks.
I don't want to see that. Not at all.
It's beautiful. It's like boys love it. We do stargazing. We talk about the stars. We've got a star pointer. So we do all of that, and then we do acorns and thorns in the veld. In our groups, or if they're small enough in a big group. Then we go back, brush teeth, and we close camp for the day. and then it's bedtime, and that's usually chaos because. And I have to tell you a story here because it just shows us the stuff that we need here. So originally we were like, it's bedtime now, 9 o'clock, lights out, everyone in bed. And of course then, when light goes out, everything is funny. Like there's nothing that's not funny. So there's always a laugh and so by 9:15, you are enraged, you want to...
You the mentor.
Yeah, because, yeah, they just don't want to go to bed. So we changed it. We said, listen, it's lights out. You can still talk quietly, but by, let's say, 9:30, like no more talking. If you want to talk now, you do it right now. If you're finding yourself next to someone that's going to keep on talking, change it right now. Otherwise, you will sleep outside. Because if you're talking after time, you can get to sleep outside. So we do a lot of that. Or we put on some classical music. And then boys, you fall asleep very quickly. But I remember one camp we did... it was, I think we were about 15 boys, and we did a tucking. So everyone's in mattresses. So you start on the one end, and you stuck them in, and you...
The mentor's doing that.
You're like blowing the neck a bit, tickle them, and well done, because we Saturday night, we did the courage jump today, or it's like, we did a hike, or so well on that, and you just go down the line and just like there's some encouragement. And then the next night, we got busy, it's bedtime, and these kids could not get quiet. Like I could not. At some point, I was like, what is going on here? I'm like, we're about to just go for a night hike. Like, because that's the other thing. It's like, if I'm awake anyway, we can just well go hiking. So, that also keeps the boys quite quiet. And it's the one boy's like, but you didn't tuck us in tonight. And it was just like, it was such a reminder of something that was so important for them. They just wanted to have that little, like, you sleep well done today, you did well, and tomorrow's going to be a great day. And then, of course, if you camp with teenagers, you have to, wake them up with cold water by 6 o'clock. If you camp with 5-year-olds, you have someone staring at you at 5:15. You can feel someone in your face, like, no sleeping there. And wow, so it's an amazing space. And what's lovely about it is we get 48 hours in this space. Like it's engaging all the time. We sit around a table when we do our meal. There's like, the constantly, it's a small thing. It's just like, pick up that paper. We're going for a hike. You get an energy bar. That wrapper is your lunch ticket. You have to come back for it. It can't stay in the felt. It's the values. It's the conversations. It's just going on the hike and just. So our camps have some structure, but it's not like every minute's planned up. There's a lot of free time. There's a time where we just play. We just hike and we just talk. Or we just go and sit around the fire and we're having conversations. Or you just sit there and you listen to the conversations and just go like, that's interesting. Like, so you guys like that movie or you like that video game. So what's the age restriction on that? And then he goes quiet. And then you just talk a little bit about values and, like, what does it mean? And then just, so there's never like, it's trying to stay engaged in that space. And camp does that. It's a wonderful opportunity. And it's an adventure. I mean, it's just... Yeah.
I can see why the little guy would want to keep coming back.
Oh, yeah. No, you can see why the old guys would keep coming back. So, yeah.
But there's one thing that you spoke about when you were doing the tuck-in and the little tickle and the whatever. Don't you think that as a society we underplay the value of physical touch, especially with little boys boys are concerned? And I'm coming from the 5 love languages point of view, where for some people their love language is physical touch and high fives. I think we discount when we think that boys don't need that.
I mean, it's one of the most important things that we need. Like for us, we need to be hugged. Like there's something about that is hugely important for us. But it comes back to like men don't hug. Like when it's like a fist bump or like a sideways like tap on the back. It's not a proper hug. So like we love to hug at the carrot company. There's something very important in it. And the physical aspect, you can see it with the boys. Part of it's also the way we slowly test our strength. Like you want to wrestle, and like I don't want you to let me win, but also I like to see like wrestling with teenagers is a lot harder. I'm getting older, but there's interesting aspects to it. But it's very important. But I think what has happened, society has just gone, it's dangerous, so just completely stay away from it. So we're talking about it's like we're not making the effort to create safe spaces. We're just saying no, like you shouldn't do this, and that makes it very difficult because now we're creating spaces that we're saying you shouldn't, but we're not explaining why, and that's even worse. Because in play, there's a lot of stuff that come out. That's why you have play therapy. And I remember early in our program, I at some point for after program, I went and bought some boxing gloves and some sparring gloves, and we would just we'll do just a little bit of like sparring. So, and you would see, I remember one of our boys, he was such a timid little boy. And at some point I said to him, come on. And I just tapped him on his head with a sparring glove. And this boy, he had this transformation.
Yeah, the Hulk came out.
Basically like that. And I walked away from some wrestling matches with the blue eyes sometimes. And I remember one camp specifically, we had a young boy. He was actually there with his father.
Is that allowed? Is that the norm?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We do. So if you're a mentor on the program and you have a son, you must be he's part of your group. Like, he must be part of your group, and he must come camp. The harder part is at some point he wants to camp, but he doesn't want to camp with you. He wants to camp with other uncles because there's something different there. And so, we invited this guy. He had 2 sons there, but it was a messy situation. The dad was really clocked out, and he would disappear, and he would just go and be away walking and stuff. And so at some point I had a conversation with him and I said, listen, I know that you're dealing with your own stuff, but you are absent here, and you need to, this weekend is very important for you. You need to step back into the space. And one of the things that made me realize that is his youngest son. The evening we had a tickle, and I think there was a pillow fight involved, and it was there was like a whole little wrestling thing going, and this kid came running from the side of the hall, jumping into this pile. And he actually kneed me on my back and my kidney, and it was actually, I was limping for a couple of days, and your first reaction was anger, and then I just realized that this kid had such built up anger towards a man. And when you create a safe space and a mentorship space, a lot of the times you would see places where that starts coming out. It's like, wow, you would have a reaction. And so we talk about that with our mentors to try and see that coming and diffuse that, because we want to unpack what's going on there. And we don't have degrees in psychology for these things. We have those moments, we have the experiences. The other story, if we have time, we had this boy came out of a space very, very badly abused by his father. Father passed away. It's part of our program. First time I met him, he just sat there, had a hoodie over his. I took him out for a milkshake, and his mom dropped him. She sat a couple of tables away. We just had a conversation as much as I could. Had a hoodie over his head. He had a obsession with cleanliness at that point because of what happened to him, and he would be so. I think he was probably 11. He was at the very edge of what we could help with at that stage. And so I said, listen, so we're going to get you into the program, and he was very quiet. And I said, and we'll. You're going to camp? And he's like, I don't camp. I said, but you don't have a choice. We're going to camp. Let me tell you one thing. You and me, we're going to have a mud fight. And this kid went pale. It was for him, that was the worst thing. He could not think of this. And I said to him, well, listen, we'll do it. I'm just telling you, this is what I'm working towards. And at one camp, we had another, tickling and wrestling and stuff. And I could see out of the corner of my eye, this boy running around the circle, and every time coming in and tickling me and then going back. And I thought about it afterwards, just thinking what he saw there must have been one of the worst things for him in his brain. It was it was chaos, it was a lot of screaming, it was it's stuff that would have probably reminded him a lot about his abuse. But you could see that this was just safe, and he wanted so badly to be part of it. So he would constantly, it was almost like he would come in and just have a little bit of
the water.
Yeah. And not that long afterwards, he actually started a mud fight with me. And so that was a bigger celebration. And I could just go back to him and I said, remember that conversation we had? Of course, he was, you could weld with this boy at that point. He was so proud of himself, having started that. But that's the stuff that we see. And that's what camp does. Yeah. And when we do the adventures and we do the cricket trips or the white river rafting, once in a while we get opportunities like that. It's the spaces we get to engage in. There's an activity, and we're testing some of our personal boundaries and what we can and cannot do. But there's the conversations, there's the things that I see. It's just hiking behind 2 boys and hearing the conversation. You can pick up on that later. And it's an amazing opportunity. And you get boys outside, and there's no technology, and there's no I don't sleep at home without the light off. It's well, I'm sorry, but there's no lights here. So lights out means light out. And then tomorrow morning going, so how was that? I slept well. I had no problem. You have boys that have never left home at 8, 9 years old, camps for the first time. You have boys that are get teary on the first night missing mom, and it's like having a conversation. It's like, I get that, but this is boy time, and you need this, and mom needs the break too. She needs this weekend too. So you're going to see her on Sunday, and so there's no phoning mom at this stage. Like we're gonna man up here. We're gonna do
cute.
this.
That is,
and then
cute.
then it changes. So you see all of that stuff, and it's gentle and it's kind and it's safe and it's and yet it's a strong space to just to grow up and the stuff that I just would have liked.
Lovely, Jaco. That is so cute. So we've gone through the mentorship, we've gone through the weekend camps, but you've hinted at a Kruger adventure, whitewater rafting. How do those fit into the mix, and how does one get on?
So we try every year to have some adventure that we plan for, and these are stuff where they would typically be for older boys that have done the rite of passage program specifically, and that's just something different. That's like a big wow event on the calendar, and it would be exposing the boys to the Kruger Park, which has been amazing, and then taking them to an adventure. We've got a lovely place we camp just outside the Kruger up north. Lovely friends of us there that's got a nice bush camp, and it's playing touches in the river and sleeping outside at night, going up in the spot and just stars and it's going into the Kruger and just talk about some of the stuff there and seeing stuff that they never would have seen before, and then coming back and hearing the experiences, or go white river rafting or go hiking on a big hiking trip, and in those things you get to test some of those areas that you don't know about yourself. It's like when we do our courage jump at the camp, it's like jumping off a rock into the river, and it's very safe. But when for me, when you're scared of heights, it's bad. And when you're a small kid and you have to jump into the river, and we've got a beautiful video clip on our website that was shot around that experience a little bit, about just the whole place of trusting, and how do I grow into that, and what grows in me. It's like that, almost like that steel inside me that comes out, and boys that I get to float in the river when the boys jump, and I could see that absolute terror, and then flying through the air, and you could see the fear of, and then hitting the water, and then coming out, and that shock, and then suddenly that change, that transformation about, I've done this, this is the hardest thing I've done in my life, and I've done it, and then trying to get boys to not jump. I think our record's 43 jumps or something at a camp.
One boy?
Yeah, they don't want to stop. Then it's and we've seen that with rock climbing and stuff. It's just, you get an opportunity to break through something which moms won't do with you. You take mom there, it was no, it's fine. It's you
don't have to do that, baby. No.
The water stall is sit here. That's why we don't take moms on camps. We don't take them to afternoon activities. And
So the young boys that would end up on this, have they gone through the system? This is okay. So I come on when I'm 5. I go to all these other weekend camps, and then at what age am I eligible to go to the Kruger and to the whitewater raft?
So typically in high school, so our rite of passage camp is when I go to high school.
Okay.
So it's a big transition for a boy, and so that's a space we invite him to a different journey. So the conversations change. Okay. Now I do surf at a younger camp, so I'm given more responsibility, which also means I work a lot harder. Okay. I wash a lot more dishes. So there's other things, at a camp, boys, you eat what you served. There's no, I don't eat that. It's well, this is what you get.
But there are kids with allergies.
Yeah, but
we've checked all that up front.
We check all of that up front.
Okay.
We check medicine. Very, very few situations where we've got allergy issues.
Okay.
And strange enough, and it's and I think at some stage I read something about the issue around asthma, for example, with boys. There's a study that proved or showed that there was a high boys with absent fathers, a high percentage of them struggle with asthma, and I cannot tell you how many asthma pumps I have thrown away that was forgotten in cars or at camps. A boy would come to camp he's got asthma, and then never used it. Never. I think we've had 2 boys in the whole history of all our camping that actually had asthma pumps that they used at camp. A lot, and I've talked about a lot of boys that are camping.
Hundreds, eh?
Yeah, that are going, they've got an issue with this. And then you remove some of the issues by the adventure, by the discipline, by the structure, by the engagement. And you see that with boys with autism. We've had boys with autism camping with us. Love to see a study around that and how that works. Boys with, you don't send your son to camp with ADHD medication. Refuse to drug a kid at camp. I will not do it. So we are engaging.
And they're fine. They're not.
No, I would go where's the kid that you guys are talking about? It's where's this trouble? And you have there's just something about that space where we get to be engaging and we're in fresh air and we constantly, because it's a constant engagement. And then we also prep them, like when you go home. So we talk about PCD, post-camp depression, a real thing. Like Monday, life again. It's like we had this amazing weekend, this high. Now it's like, oh
Yeah.
So you go back on Sunday, like firstly, like, and I've had this conversation with moms. You don't carry your boys back to the bus. You carry your own bag. If you tell me at camp you can't find your toothbrush, it means your mom packed your bag, which is unacceptable, which means you didn't pack your toothbrush. And so I don't care, you're going to use your finger, but you'll brush teeth. When you get home on Sunday, you are tired, you're exhausted, you will take your own bag to your room. You'll unpack it. If you can help with the washing, you'll wash your clothes. If you're going to can help with a meal, you will help with a meal. You're going to draw your mom a flower. Please don't steal the neighbor's one, but if you have to, they draw a flower, tell her how much you missed her and appreciate her. You're going to help with the food, you're going to wash dishes afterwards, and then you can go and relax. Then you can go and play in your computer. But that's like you. So we talk to the boys about that. We prep the moms for it. So moms don't go like, oh no, you're not allowed to do this. I'm going to spoil it. It's like, no, they have to. And because of camp, they do. It's like, I mean, I have a lot of boys that come to camp for the first time, and it's also the first time they hear the word no. So you're going to wash your dishes. You will eat what's on your plate. You will wake up when you wake up. You will when you wake up, you will make up your bed. You will not leave it. And if you can do it here, then obviously you can do it at home. So that's important.
Oh, wow. Very transformative.
It is, yeah.
Nice.
It's a
nice.
space. Because it's just, like the thing is, as a man one day, what am I leaving when I walk into a space? If I walk into a relationship, if I walk into a room, if I walk into any space, how do I leave it when I've walked through it? Is it a destruction done behind me, or do I clean up behind me? Because I was taught at a young age by a mentor that if I go into a space, I clean up. So it's just, make your own bed. You cannot climb into a bed that hasn't been made. That doesn't make sense. So make your own bed.
Love that. Jaco, thank you. Thank you so much. So let's park here, and then when we come back, we're going to pick up on the engine room of this organization, how it's all structured, the leadership, the board, and all that.
Perfect.
Beautiful.